One of the things I love most about living in Northwest Arkansas is that you never have to look far to find someone who is doing something meaningful, someone who is using their gifts to make this region a better place for all of us. Today's guest is exactly that kind of person. Chef Sam Walker is a Little Rock native who has spent most of his life in kitchens, not just cooking food, but building community around it. He's the chef behind Gaskins on Emma in downtown Springdale, one of the anchors in what has quietly become one of the most exciting food corridors in the entire state of Arkansas. But today, we're not just talking about what food can do, and specifically, what happens when some of the most talented chefs in the country come together around a single mission, making sure no kid goes hungry. On April 26th, Chef Sam is helping lead Chef's Night for No Kid Hungry, a five-course dinner at the Jones Center featuring 20 chefs, 200 seats, and a goal of raising $50,000 for Share Our Strength's No Kid Hungry campaign. Last year's event raised just under $18,000 with only 76 people. This year, they're going bigger, bolder, and more ambitious than ever before. I'm Randy Wilburn, and this is I Am Northwest Arkansas, where we tell the stories of the people, the places, and the ideas shaping this region. Chef Sam Walker, welcome to the show.
Thanks so much for having me, brother. It's great to be here.
I certainly want to give a shout out to Damara Baker, who is a dear friend of mine. And anytime that Damara says you need to meet this person or you might want to have this person on the show, I'm always quick to take a meeting and to learn more. So I'm
For sure.
glad that she brought us together. So you grew up in Little Rock and you described yourself as someone who has spent most of his life in kitchens.
Yeah.
Take
Yeah.
take me take me back and I want to know what was the earliest moment you knew that cooking was going to be your thing?
Well, let's see. At the ripe age of 16, I found myself making King Caesar wraps at a tropical smoothie, it's just such an interesting industry. It's so many different walks of life find themselves working together and people you would never find yourself talking to or hanging out with. It's just an interesting crew. It's an interesting industry. And I think from the get go, I fell into it, but I think I couldn't see myself doing anything else. It's very much so something that wasn't necessarily by design, but I'm glad it worked out the way it did. So
Yeah. And you mentioned that your mother wasn't actually a great cook, which I love that because that's not the usual culinary backstory, right? I mean, what was it
and when
about the industry itself that pulled you in if it wasn't about recreating home cooking?
yeah, that's the joke. I'll make sure my mom doesn't watch this one. She's great. She's incredible. But I grew up. My family's from the South, right? So I've got a lot of family down in Louisiana. My grandmother used to do some of the best fried chicken I've ever had in my life down in Shreveport, and those ties, to just food and the community with the family around the table are special. And I think that I was fortunate enough pretty early to find myself in kitchens where you kind of had that same group, right? Where you had that same feel of something bigger than just, we're here for a paycheck. So I was fortunate pretty early to work for guys that were pushing me to see, the value in what we were able to do on a day to day basis than just a clock in, clock out mentality, right? So
Yeah. Was there like growing up, did you have a meal that you really gravitated towards more than anything else that really kind of set the standard for you when it came to thinking
sure.
about good food?
I would say that meal that I described from my grandmother is pretty important. And it wasn't just the fact that she made a killer fried chicken. It was that the entire family was coming to her house for that meal. And it was more that kind of community and it was bigger than just the meal itself. So those things stand out. And it's cool. I've got like a box at home full of my great grandmother's recipes and just like super simple Southern, they were all in Mississippi at the time. So like just really old school. recipes that I've been able to kind of go through, and you could just feel the soul that's in those meals. You know, it's not it's just it's the most basic stuff you could ever think of.
Yeah.
But for what those meals mean for their kids and now myself and now, our family, it's special. It's special. It's something that's hard to recreate. That's what we always push for, right? Is to keep that feeling going.
Yeah. So it sounds like you got the concept or idea of hospitality honestly just through the coming together of your family. How has that translated into your role as a chef, specifically there at your restaurant?
I think you find a lot of chefs these days that have something deeper under the surface, or we're trying to take care of people. It's a selfless, the service industry is to be selfless, to take care of others. And I think that that was instilled early. I grew up Southern Baptist. We spent a lot of time going to different food banks, doing a lot of outreach stuff with the church and that community. And I think some of that is probably the backbone of what's instilled in me to take care of people, and something you don't think about terribly often. But I think if I were to really dig deeper and think it through, that's probably part of it. Is just I've got great parents that hopefully raised me right to a degree, right? That just
Yeah.
take care of people, be a good person, take care of people, and that's this industry that I'm in and the role that I'm in here at Gaskins is one where I can do that. It's a cool thing to translate it from this is just how you are as a person. Now let's just take care of as many people as possible, right?
Yeah.
So
Well, and that's why we're here having this conversation in the first place. So, you've built your home base in downtown Springdale at Gaskins on Emma. That corridor, and I was telling you this the other day when we talked on the phone, that corridor has changed dramatically in the last few years, like, amazing. I've been here 11 years now at the time of recording this, but man, Emma has changed a lot. You've got Onyx, you have Casa Alejo, Rain, Bistro 16. What does it mean to be part of that culinary moment happening in Springdale right now?
I'm sitting here looking at, Emma Avenue right now, and it's the growth is incredible. It's phenomenal. It's wild. Even we opened just coming up on 2 years ago, and I think I was telling you the other day, it's you were able to park anywhere you wanted pretty much. You had street parking, just walk right in, and it's hard to find. And that's just a testament to the growth and how fast it's happening. We knew when we opened this place that we were a little early into this thing, but we you could see it all over the, writing's pretty clear on the wall that this area is booming. So it's cool to be a part of it, you know.
Y So you honestly see Springdale as a culinary hub now, right? Because I mean, it wasn't when I first moved here, it was not that. Let's be very clear, and again,
Sure.
I'm not pointing fingers, I'm just calling it as I see it. Before, when I would go someplace to eat, if I wasn't eating in Fayetteville, I'd either eat up in Bentonville and then
Sure.
certainly Rogers, but now Springdale is on the menu, right? Springdale is on the menu.
I sure don't see why not. What separates us from some of these other markets that maybe maybe the investment is there a little sooner, maybe people gravitated towards those areas a little quicker. But why not Springdale? It's an incredible city.
Yeah.
My wife and I, we got our first home here. We love it. We spent time in Fayetteville, time in Bentonville. I love Springdale. And I'm an Arkansas guy, so I love it all. But it's a special. It's super blue collar. Like it's just kind of like my kind of people. And why not bring something a little bit more to the table that maybe the area has seen, and I think it's just going to keep trending in that direction.
When I was growing up, we would say, like, if we were talking about something that was really established, you would say, "Oh, that's whatever that is has arrived." But then if you were talking about something that was more aspirational or was on the growth curve, right? You would say, "Oh, they're on the come up." And I always say Springdale is on the come up. Like it's like
Amen.
I have friends that have invested in Springdale. Like you said, like you own a house in Springdale. I have friends that have moved to Springdale and really have had nothing but good things to say. And I will say that the business environment in Springdale is pretty solid, especially for an entrepreneur that might be watching this or listening to this episode.
Sure.
And there is a lot of opportunity there in the city of Springdale. And this is a secret that I don't know that many people know. Springdale is huge. Like, it's really big. It's way
Sure.
bigger than you think. A lot of times people think, "Oh, well, you go up 71 or you go across 412," and you're like, "That's Springdale." Springdale, I mean, it ventures out, and so if you look on a map and look at the size of Springdale, there's a lot of opportunity for growth in that city, and so
Sure.
I love giving Springdale a shout out whenever I can. I've had so many different people that represent Springdale for various causes on this podcast, and we always talk about what Springdale represents. I've had the Downtown Alliance on. I mean, you name it. We've talked
Sure.
about the potential of Springdale, and so it's here to stay, is what I'm saying.
We're just happy to be a part. We say that all the time. We're just very proud to be here, and so just play a small part. It's all about kind of planting seeds, and once people catch on, then it's just gonna take off even further. So
Yeah,
we're here for the
absolutely.
ride.
Here's the reason, one of the main reasons why we were coming together to talk, and it's about something, as I told you, how important food insecurity is a major issue in this country, in this state, and in this region. Let's talk a little bit about the Chef's Night for No Kid Hungry. Can you tell me a little bit about this event and this program? How did this event come to be? And what does it mean to you personally to be one of the people leading it?
Sure. So obviously, last year was our first year doing this event, and there's a bit of a learning curve, I think, to any event, any any event like this. And we have a lot of great people involved with the dinner last year, and we've kind of all come together this year and said, why not make this thing bigger? Why not build it and try to have an even bigger impact this year? And so this event specifically, it started as do we do it here in the restaurant again? Obviously, downtown Springdale's got the street dinner that does very well, some stuff like that. So we just started looking a little outside the box. Our good friend down here, Mike Gilbert, he's been a big part of this dinner and kind of mentioning some ideas. And we landed on the Jones Center, and they obviously do a ton of great work in the area. So we're partnering with those guys, and they're going to be hosting it in their space. So we have way more bodies in the room. It's just more opportunity for a bigger impact, essentially.
What were some of the initial reactions that you heard from the inaugural event of this last year from those people that attended?
I mean, super well received. I was telling you the other day, it's not a hard sell to come together to feed kids. It's vital. It's super important. Next generation. What can we do to set them up for success and just take care of the people around us? So the event, very well received. It was small enough that it was definitely manageable. We had some incredible chefs on that one. We had Jason Paul from Heirloom. He was there. We had Will Mock down here. We had the guys from Rain. One of my mentors from Little Rock, Kobe Smith, was up in town for it. So we had a great crew, and we were basically just taking that whole crew. They're going to be on this next dinner, and we just kept growing it. Right. So now we've got some national chefs that are coming in. We've got
A
more
total of
locals.
20 participating, right? Of 20
20,
chefs,
20
local and
chefs.
5 from out of town.
That's right.
It's like herding
It's
cats, man.
it's a challenge, right? We're all super busy, especially this day and age with food cost rising, and we're trying to manage businesses and staffs to make sure everybody's good. And for everyone to take the time to come and do this is special. So, we definitely want to share that with this area. Get all of Northwest Arkansas involved in this thing, and just make it as big as we can to have the biggest impact. So,
So give us the list of names of chefs that will be here from out of town.
okay. So out of town, we've got Ted Sisma coming in
Mhm.
from California. We've got Vinny Cimento out of Ohio. We have Joe Flam coming out of Chicago. Rebecca Masson coming out of Texas. And then we added Lambert Givens coming out of Boston.
Oh,
Super talented.
Beantown. Okay.
Yeah.
All
Yeah.
right. I like that.
Great crew, though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What do you think that says about Northwest Arkansas and about this cause, that chefs at that level are willing to make the trip here?
I will say this. I think I've been fortunate to get to know a lot of these chefs through No Kid Hungry and some organizations like this where it's you start getting to know these chefs, these people, and you hear a lot about this area, to be honest with you. And you're seeing more of those names pop up, being involved with things in Northwest Arkansas and Arkansas as a whole. I think that people do know that there is a need here. We lead the country in food insecurity. So you see a lot of times when they're going to the Capitol and they pulled myself, Chef Micah Klasky up in Bentonville. They pulled us up to DC last year just to talk to some of our representatives and see, what we could do to try to mitigate some of the issues here with food insecurity in our state. And it's an issue, but you have a lot of those chefs that, eh, again, know about what's going on in Arkansas.
Yeah.
It's a growing market. It's an area that you're hearing about more because stuff like this is happening. And it's cool to see the amount of people coming together to make that stuff happen here. That's not like it's not like a, oh, I'm just doing this dinner. It's there's an army of people trying to make these things happen to have an actual change here. So
Yeah.
it gets traction.
I mean, again, I said it earlier, but I want to applaud you. Last year's event raised just under $18,000 with only 76, and I'm saying only 76 people in attendance because we want to blow that number out of the water
Sure.
this year.
Sure.
Okay. This year you're going for $50,000 with 200 seats. That's a massive leap in ambition. I'd love for you just to walk me and our audience through what it takes to scale something like this logistically, organizationally, and
Sure.
actually more importantly, emotionally.
It's obviously a challenge, right? I've made that pretty clear. I've had to pull as many people into this thing as I can. I feel super fortunate to have been linked up with you. And but it's been kind of that story with this whole thing is how many people can I get involved? And it's a passion project for myself, but I feel like the more you talk about it and the more people you talk to about something like this, it becomes a passion project for other people. And that's what makes this possible, right? It's just getting as many people involved as we can to bring it together.
Yeah.
So logistically, it's come together very slowly. It's been a grind, but to get all the chefs on, the chefs have been incredible, just willing with their time, with their resources, and what I've asked everyone to do is not easy. It would have been way easier to say, I'm going to give you a second course. You're going to do a hot appetizer. Let me know what you're thinking. We'll get the food together. That's one thing, right? To say you're going to be able to team with four chefs, 4 chefs total. Now all of you have to figure this stuff out. So we've been navigating that and everyone's just been playing it it's been easier than it probably should be,
Yeah.
for me to get it all together just because everyone's been so willing to just play the role and we all just make sure that it goes smoothly. And yeah, so it's logistically, it's got some curveballs in there, but it's been pretty good. So
Yeah. I know, and you mentioned a couple of the names of local chefs. I think you said Marty Schmidt, maybe?
yeah,
Chef Marty's been on this podcast. Is Jason Paul coming back for a second round?
Jason Paul was on. He's going to be out of town for that night. So we got some other people in. So same crew. We got Will Monk. We've got that crew. We've got Elliot Hunt over at Atlas.
Elliot's a
We've
good
got
guy.
Hayne Begley he's up in Bentonville doing some of that crew. Rob Nelson, some of those guys.
I think it's definitely gonna be worthwhile. I wanna kinda unpack this part of it because this is the real crux of the matter, right? When we are in a time and a place where, let's just be honest, gas is expensive. There's a lot of things going on in the world. When people sit down at a $250 per plate dinner that's fundamentally about feeding children who don't have enough to eat,
Sure.
obviously there's a kind of, and the words I came up with was a beautiful tension in that, right?
Sure.
That's a nice way to put it. How do you hold both of those realities at the same time when trying to pull this event off?
It's tough, right? It's tough. And like we were talking about the other day, there's probably more going on now than there was when we initially set out to do this. But what I come back to is, and this is Ted Sisma who's coming to the dinner. He talks about this and he always makes it as simple as possible. He's like, when I'm going to bed at night, the thought of kids going to bed hungry bothers me, and it's a problem. So to know that there are kids that are going to bed every night hungry, they're not getting the rest they need, they're going to school, they're not nourished to a point where they can succeed in school. You're off to a pretty rough start, and it's going to be hard. And that's something that we can come together and fix. It's a fixable problem. It's not a lack of food problem. Our country has an abundance of food. It's getting that food to the people that need it, and that's the
Yeah.
programs. That's like, is that a steep ticket price? Is that a difficult sell potentially, of course. You know what I mean? I feel the economy and how tight things are as much as anybody also, you know. But that being said, to make some sacrifices to make a big change and make a difference that we're able to make, you know, I'm willing to take that risk and see if we can make it work, right? So, and I
Yeah.
think that there are other people out there that feel the same way. So
Yeah. What do they say? No risk it, no biscuit, right?
that's right.
So,
You
yeah.
got to risk it for the biscuits, right?
So, okay, well, we certainly are going to encourage all of our listeners to that those that are in a position to participate. There'll be a number of ways to serve the needs of children that are food insecure, and for some people that can't actually go to this event, you told me that they could still give to the
For
program.
sure.
So yeah, so we'll make sure we put all of that information in the show notes. But is there a website for this event?
Yes. So we're actually doing this for Chef Cycle,
Okay.
which is an event put on through No Kid Hungry, Share Our Strength. And it's essentially every year they go out, they ride, doing 200 miles. So I'll be going in June to ride 200 miles out in Oregon to raise awareness as much as raising funds, right? So it's kind of like, what are these guys, these lunatics doing, riding 200 miles in a couple days? But it brings awareness, right? So
Yeah.
we'll be doing that. I'll pull this up pretty soon. I don't get this wrong.
I just wanna make
No,
sure
no, no.
people know that there are multiple on-ramps to the
For sure.
mission beyond just buying a ticket, so
For sure. And this is, if you were to just look up Chef Cycle 2026, you'll find the page. You can donate straight to just their main cause on that page. You know, we've
yeah.
got a goal as a group of raising $1 million. We're already over half of that.
Wow. Wow.
So by the time we get some of these dinners done, I saw yesterday there's a group, they go by the Wheels of Time. They're spelled Thyme, you know, little
Right.
chef
Li
nod.
Sure.
They're doing a 20 chef plus, you know, 8 course dinner. They're even more ambitious than us, more than likely, you know. But it's yeah, there's multiple events like this going on around the country for this main chef cycle event. Dentonville at the Hive, they just had a very successful dinner. They've raised over $80,000 this year,
Wow.
which is incredible. So I'm super
Yeah.
proud of those guys, and it's just we're all just trying to do our part, right? We're all just
Yeah.
trying to do as much as we can collectively to have the biggest footprint possible here.
Northwest Arkansas is. People want to support other people, whether they do it with their time, their talent, or the money that they have at their disposal. And so
For sure.
I encourage people to try to get involved. Now, if this ride that you're taking in June, is that the type of ride where you're looking for sponsors, or can people pay per mile as you go, or how does that work?
If you were to go to my page, you could say, you know, I'm going to donate X amount per mile ridden, you know, and you could just donate that amount. Obviously, everything through their website is it's a tax write off. There's all the benefits to the sponsors and the donors, but there's also, you know, end of the day, we're just trying to feed kids. So it's yeah, we still have room for sponsorship with our dinner. We still have room for sponsorship just for this kind of season, if you will.
Sure.
But yeah, there's still plenty of windows to get involved, and every little bit counts. You know, we talked about it's $5, it's $10. It doesn't matter as long as we're chipping away at an issue here.
Yeah. Well, and I want to be clear for everybody involved that everybody that's listening to this, it doesn't end on April 26th. April
For
26th is
sure.
one date on the horizon that will give you an opportunity to be involved, but it doesn't end at that date. So I want to wrap up just asking you this question. Beyond this event, what's the bigger vision? What does food equity, making sure every person in Northwest Arkansas and especially every child has enough to eat, what does that look like in practice?
You know, I as far as my perspective, kind of things that have changed for me as I've gotten older, and this not to sound like morbid, but you know, this is a pretty short ride that we're on, right? It's not like this is not a you know what I mean? And
Yeah,
I'm not getting younger, and I know that at the end of my time here, I want to know that we were able to help other people make impacts. So what does that look like? I think we're just going to keep trying to find windows. You know, I'm incredibly fortunate to work with an organization like No Kid Hungry because they are just constantly giving you outlets to do those things, right? And it's big to me to take those opportunities. You know, whatever platform we have here at Gaskins, we want to use it to do the most we can for the community. So As the years go on, hopefully that platform gets bigger and bigger so that we can do more and more. And I can only hope that somehow I can plant a seed with some younger cook coming up so that this just keeps going, and we just keep the trend of let's be good people, let's take care of other people. I firmly believe that we're here to love each other, take care of each other, and that's the goal, that's the mission. I
Yeah.
think we'll just keep pushing for it.
Yeah, I think of people like him and Jeremy Gothrop and others that have like
For
lit
sure,
lit a fire under young chefs. And one of my good friends is Chef Nate Walls, and I mean
for
Jeremy has
sure.
been a tremendous mentor for him. And I mean Nate's literally single-handedly trying to feed all of Northwest Arkansas, right? I mean,
Absolutely.
I mean, he should just wear a t-shirt that says "No kid left behind" when it comes to eating a meal, because I've been out with him, and he was just at an event the other day with the Fayetteville Public Library where I work, and they had a block party and they fed a couple hundred people. It doesn't seem like much, but it is. And it
Sure.
does make a difference, right?
I mean, Nate and those guys. He just reposted us talking about this dinner yesterday. I love Nate.
Yeah.
I love Jeremy also. Just got off the phone with him the other day talking about ways to benefit the community, and you just have a lot of people with hearts in the right place.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's good to be around those people. It's like you always talk about. Yeah, you asked early on just about this industry and kind of how we get into it and all that. And you talk about finding your people, like those are, I think all of us in that, we kind of found our people, and this is it. It's
Yeah.
try to make a difference, try to get more people involved, and that's
Yeah.
that's what it's about.
And I mean, I think more for me personally, as I got involved with Ozark Natural Foods and I understood the concept of what real good food means to individuals and that everybody should have access to it, not just people that can afford it. It just opened my eyes that there's so much more that we can be doing in our local communities to make sure that, especially children, we got to start with them. Because I mean, there's so many studies that show that if kids don't have a full stomach when they get to school, if they don't get food in their stomach, it's hard for them to focus and
For
concentrate.
sure.
These little things can go a long way in ensuring that the next generation and then the generation after that is equipped to take on what needs to be done in our society. So thank you so much for the hard work that you're doing, and remind us again of a website that people can go to if they want to book a ticket for this event on the 26th of April.
Absolutely. So we have a link. If you go through our socials, I'll tell you this. It's a little. We're trying to navigate this thing and make it easier.
Be plastering this out on Instagram, on Facebook, and I will put it out in the show notes. So go to the show notes, whether you're looking at it on your podcast device of choice or you're on our website at iamnorthwestarkansas.com. When you go to this particular episode, you'll see all the information there on how you can get involved, how you can buy a ticket. And worst case scenario, you can email me at hello@iamnorthwestarkansas.com, and I'll make sure I put you directly in touch with Chef Sam so that you can support his efforts and what we're doing to make sure that we leave no child left behind.
Appreciate
Yeah.
that.
So, but and I said left behind, but I mean no kid
You
hungry.
got it.
Chef Sam Walker, thank you for everything you poured into this conversation, and more importantly, for everything you're pouring into this community through your cooking, your leadership, and your commitment to making sure no child in Northwest Arkansas goes hungry. What I take away from this conversation personally is that something I think about a lot when I talk to people doing work like this. The table has always been more than a place to eat. It's where we tell our stories, where we welcome strangers, where we decide what kind of community we want to be. And they've been doing a study lately about longevity and what it takes. And it's not a pill, it's not a certain type of food. The one surefire way to ensure that you have longevity is to have community, right? When people know that you care. I mean, some guy stopped me today earlier in the library, just said, "Hey, you look like somebody I need to meet." And he just introduced himself out of the blue, and I shook his hand and I smiled and I introduced myself and he told me his name. So many people walk around on a daily basis feeling unseen. I really want to encourage folks that you are seen, you need to be seen, and that especially programs like this make a big difference and put everybody on the radar that they do matter. The Chef's Night for No Kid Hungry happens on April 26th at the Jones Center in Springdale. 5 courses, 20 chefs, 200 seats, a goal of $50,000 for Share Our Strengths No Kid Hungry campaign. If you want to be a part of it, whether you grab a ticket, make a donation, or simply share this episode with someone who needs to hear it, you'll find the links in the show notes. Chef Sam Walker, thank you so much, man, for doing this. And man, I'm going to do all I can in the next several days after this episode comes out to spread the word and to let folks know about this because we're going to we're going to get to that $50,000.
Randy, I appreciate you, brother. Thank you so much for doing this and for playing a part, man. I always appreciate it.
Well, listen, folks, I hope you enjoyed this episode of I Am Northwest Arkansas. That's all we have for today. And I will see you next time with another brand new episode of I Am Northwest Arkansas. Peace.